Hi folks, this is the Antares Autotune VX5 headrush vocal processor, and this video is just a beginner's guide to how to set this up. There are a load of tutorial videos on YouTube on how to use it, but I could not find any videos on YouTube showing how to set it up from taking it out of the box. So this video is basically just to show you what to do when you take it out of the box. So, as I say, this is a vocal processor. Antares is the company who are famous for Autotune. You probably remember a song by Cher, Do You Believe in Life After Love, where she has that wacky voice processed sound on the vocal. Well, this is the company who produce the Autotune. But it does a hell of a lot more than Autotune and pitch correction. It can do a lot more. So I'm going to be talking about that in a minute. But I just wanted to show you what you get in the box when you take it out. First of all, you get the Antares unit. And this is quite heavy. So it's always a good sign when you get something heavy, which means it shows quality. And I'll just go through the spec of that in a minute. I'll show you what else you get. You have a power supply. But what I like about the power supply is that Antares also give you adapters for America and Europe. So this is a generic power supply, and depending on what country you're in will depend on which adapter you get, which is a great idea. More manufacturers should do that rather than just having a EU plug or a US plug. You can choose by changing the adapter. So the power supply itself is generic. You just change this part here. So that's a very good idea. You also get a standard USB cable for the unit itself. And you also get some instruction manuals there. Quick start guide. Okay. Now, what I'd suggest people do, the first thing you do when you get the unit is to do a software upgrade. But before we switch it on and go through it with you, I'll just show you the spec of this device. So if you're a guitarist, you can actually plug in, you've guitar in on that side and you've guitar through on that side, which means that you can actually go through a mixing desk. The only problem with this, which if you're a busker and you want to take this out and you want to busk down the road or down the tube or whatever, the problem is you can't put a battery in it. It's AC powered. So you won't be able to bring this remote. That's the only thing, but I'll be always in a band situation. I got this because my backing vocals could probably do a little pitch correction. And this is why I got this for my pitch correction. Just to have a play with it and see what happens, see what it's like. So I thought I'd give it a go and see what it turns out to be like. So you have that, and on the back of the actual unit, what you have here is a volume control. You have phantom power on and off, dynamic or condenser microphones. You have your microphone input. You have your output if you want to send it to a desk. Ground lift, I assume that's just for noise cancellation or, you know, grounding it, reducing any buzz or any EMF noise or anything like that. You got headphones. You got your USB in for your computer. You got your power in, and then you got your power switch on. Okay. And for the unit itself, you have a volume control. You have the speed on which you want the system to correct the actual pitch, and the humanization to humanize it. Do you want it more like natural, or do you want it more like a computer, like Cher? So that's what the humanize does. You have presets on this. You've 99 presets, and you can have 150 of your own presets. You can change the key. So if your song starts in the key of D minor or D major, you can change the key so your vocals will match the actual key of the song. You have Autotune, harmony and FX. I'll switch it on now in a minute and show you how it works. And these are two buttons that you press with your feet, because this would be on the ground. But before we switch it on and power it up, when you take it out of the box, what you need to do is you need to go over to the website, because when I switched this on, the firmware version on this was version 1.0, and when I plugged it into my computer, although the computer seen it, it didn't recognize it, and it just meant that I couldn't use it in Audacity, or I couldn't use it in OBS or anything like that. So the first thing you do is you have to download the software for the device and also the firmware to upgrade the device before you do anything. Okay, making sure that it's not plugged in, by the way. Make sure it's not plugged in at the moment. I'll explain why. So if we go over to the website, okay, so here is the website. It's headrushfx.com/downloads HTML. And you find the VX Autotune software, the 2 bits of software that you need to download. Now, my machine is a Windows 10, and this is the software I'm downloading for Windows 10. Your machine could be different. It could be an Apple or something. You need to check it out yourself. But the 2 bits of software you need to download, one is the networking driver, and the second one is the firmware update. At the moment, the firmware is 1.3.1, and this is as of April 2026. This could be different in a few months' time. They might upgrade the firmware. So with the actual device, when you switch on the machine, I'll show you what happens when you switch the power on and where you can check the firmware version. When you plug it in, watch here on the screen. Now mine says version 1.3.1, but when I bought this, when I took this out of the box, it said version 1.0. So it definitely needed a major firmware update. Okay, so before you do anything, when you download the software, the first thing you do is you install the network software, making sure that the machine is switched off. Okay, make sure it's switched off. You install the network software, and when that's installed, then you switch it on. Okay, and then when you run the network software, it'll ask you to select the image file. Let me just go back over to, so when you install the network software and you run it, it'll ask you to select the image file that you downloaded for the firmware, which is this one here. So find that in your downloads folder or wherever you download it, and select that file, and then while it's switched on, run that file, and then it'll do a firmware update. It can't do it obviously if the unit is switched off. You have to make sure the unit is switched on. So when the firmware update is done, it'll actually switch itself off and do a reboot, and it should come back up and show you the latest firmware version, which I just showed you there. Okay, so let's go down to the first one there. So as you can see, there's Autotune. These are presets from 1 to 99 are presets, and from 100 to 250 are your own presets which you can save. So there's Autotune there, there's harmony there, and there's FX there. Let's see if we can get closer to the camera there. Okay, and you can do numerous things with this. You can go backward and forward as to which preset that you want, or if you did set your own preset, you can have the name of the song here. So, and you'll have the key that the song is in. So you just use your feet to select the next song that you're going to be singing, and it'll be in the right key because it'll be a preset, and all the options that you need are going to come up and work. Now, somebody might say, what happens if you're going to talk to the audience? and then you want to go back. Well, it has an A-B option here, so you hold down the A-B option. So you see A is coming up there. So Autotune is selected, and you could sing that song. But if you want to talk to the audience, you'd press talk, and it'll switch off the effects. So you talk to the audience, and then you go back to A. And if you hold your foot down, you can change your presets as well. So there's a little bit of playing around with it, but it does a really good job of the audio. The speed is how fast you want the machine to kick in and correct the pitch. And the humanize is, do you want it more like a robot, or do you want it more like a human? And then you have your preset option there if you want to select your presets there. Go back to that, and you have the volume control. So that's just the basics, folks, of using the VX5 Autotune device. As I say, I'm not going to go into detail because there's loads of videos out there on how to use it and loads of demos. This is purely when you take it out of the box, what to do. I couldn't find a video to show me what to do, and had I known about updating the firmware and downloading the network driver, it would have saved me a bit of hassle. But so this is why I'm doing this video, so you benefit from my experience of dealing with it and setting it up. So if you have any questions, leave a comment below. If you like what you see, please subscribe and click and all that kind of stuff. But if you do get one of these, I hope you have fun with it. I'm having a good play with it at the moment and having a bit of practice to get it working. So, and we'll see how we get on. But thanks, guys. Take care. We'll catch you again. Bye bye.